Hello, welcome. I'm Daisy Best, and I'm a member of the selection committee for the Denton Black Film Festival. And I'm happy that you're joining us today for our conversation with the co directors and co writers of the film Yankho. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors, our partner sponsors, NBC5, the City of Denton, and Panavision, as well as our other sponsors who without whose support, would not be able to put on this wonderful festival. So today we're going to be talking with John Kinney, who is a Denton native. John has a background in language, anthropology, and photography, and he holds a master's degree in international art management. He's currently residing in Montreal, Canada. And our other guest is going to be Praises Padillo. She was born and raised in Malawi, and she holds a Bachelor's of Communications and Cultural Studies from the University of Malawi. And she has a lifelong passion for fighting injustice and helping to make people's lives better. And she sees communication as a very powerful weapon in her mission. So I would like to bring our guests in today and say welcome to them. Hi, thank you for joining us. And John is in Montreal, and Praises is in Malawi. What town are you in again?
Malawi Lilongwe.
Malawi. Okay.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to discuss this beautiful film. It's a very lyrical, colorful celebration of culture. And to get started, watching the film, I keep forgetting that it's not a documentary. That's actually, not a docudrama, but a docu-fiction. And so I'd like to start by asking you to tell us how you guys partnered in bringing this film to the screen.
Praise and I are kind work together very closely. She is in Malawi, where Orient Charities Africa staff is, and I work with Orient Charities in the U.S., um, where we have more kind of executive direction and fundraising. Um, and every week, Praise works to tell stories from our area in Malawi, and so I think the this story kind of developed out of that. Praise.
Yeah, as John has stated that we work together like every week to write stories for our supporters around the world. So much as our supporter as Oran Charities is based here in Malawi, and still more, we wanted our global supporters to understand what it is like the life of people that we are serving here in Malawi. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the narrative was, as I said earlier, it's very lyrical. And Praises, I understand that your first language is not English, but you wrote the narrative in English. And so I was wondering, what was your process?
Um, I would say it wasn't that much easy. Chichewa being my first language, it means I think in Chichewa, and then I think in Chichewa and speak in English. But still more through the past 4 or 5 years I've been working, it hasn't been that hard for me because my work involves talking to local people. I talk to them in Chichewa and I write in English for our supporters to understand. So much as the process hasn't been easy, that it has always been doable. And with the experience that I've gathered in the past years, it hasn't been that much of a hard work for me.
Okay. Well, it was lovely. It was very moving, and the music did so much to drive the narrative. So, can one of you tell me a little bit about the music that was selected for the film?
The music that was selected for the film was produced by a Malawian artist, and he used local instruments that he plays. He used different kind of instruments, and from the music itself, you can see that there is Malawian culture portrayed in every single song used in the film. Maybe John, you can add.
Yeah, Praise was able to find a local musician who's actually fairly well known for music production and playing with a number of traditional Malawian instruments. Um, the one that's my personal favorite, and I think Praise also really enjoys it, is the kalimba. Is how I believe it's generally called. If you don't know, I actually have one right here.
Oh,
Um,
good.
but it's basically the Malawian version is a little bit different than this, but it's like this, where it's a
Mhm.
piece of wood or a gourd, and then they have nails that will make these sounds like that. And so he's a master of the kalimba. What Luke Tembo um,
Yes.
and his production team were able to, well, his band and production team worked on it. So we're very lucky and proud to have a entirely Malawian um, uh, music team behind it.
Okay. So John, you are the executive director of Orient Charities, and Praises, you're the communications and marketing coordinator of the charity. So, John, how did you become aware of Orient?
I've known about Orient for many years. They are actually founded locally by some people who go to my church, and so I've known about that it for a very long time. And through that, I ended up getting connected to them. I went to some board meetings a couple years ago before I joined the team, and then it just slowly I started doing kind of consulting and assisting with some and volunteering, and then slowly over the years I um, became the executive director, and I'm very happy and very blessed to be in the um, to get to work with Orient Charities on a daily basis.
So, tell me a little bit more about Orient Charities. What's the mission? I know that you're involved in water and fighting injustice, but can you give me a little bit more detail?
Um, I could give some stuff, but maybe Praise, can you talk about the kind of work uh, that you do in Malawi?
Okay, so I think, okay, I would say we're there to improve lives, and we do it under our different programs that we are implementing in Kasese and Doha. We have our healthcare program. We have a static healthy center that is running at Kasese Trading. And we also have a mobile outreach clinic. There are some places where it's really hard for people to access healthcare services. So our mobile outreach clinic team goes to such areas to serve those kind of people, because mostly people would be just there dying because they cannot manage to get to a hospital.
Hmm.
And in some cases, they go to a hospital, but there is no medication. So our mobile outreach clinic makes sure that we have medication and we are there to save lives. And adding to that, we have our education program. We sponsor students in secondary schools, and we have also introduced university scholarships. We call it ulemu. Ulemu is a Chichewa word which means respect in Chichewa. I mean in English. And respect is one of our values as Orange Charities.
Mhm.
And adding to that, we have wash program. We drill boreholes, we build latrines in primary schools. And adding to that, we have agriculture program. We have agriculture clubs. We give them loans at no interest just to make sure that their lives are improving and people have enough food to provide for their households. And we have uh, another program, we call it FEM. We provide microloans to women. And among other things, our FAME program, I would say it has helped in fighting gender based violence because
Mm.
um,
Mm.
mostly women die in silence facing gender based violence because they don't have anywhere to go. They are not financially independent. That with this program, a lot of women have been saved from gender based violence. So, yeah, just in summary, that's what Orange Charities is doing.
Now, one of the main theme of the film was education. And so, is it typical? Do the children typically go through primary school and then secondary school if the funding is available, or is it typical that children get a primary education and then that's the end? Or
In Malawi, primary education is for free, but from secondary school to university, one has to pay. So, mostly for those people who live in typical villages where most of them are really poor. Once they reach standard 8, which is the last class in primary school, mostly they don't proceed to secondary school because they cannot afford school fees. And in some cases, others they can even drop at standard 5 because despite primary school education being free, their parents cannot afford basic needs. For example, they cannot afford buying them school necessities, books, and even providing food for them. So a child cannot go to school on an empty stomach.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So going back to the film itself, I know that the 360 degree view was very effective. How did you decide to shoot in the 360 degree the format?
Uh, um, sorry, I could do this one.
Okay.
So I think our background. I worked with some of our other staff before in Malawi in doing 360 videos that were specifically meant to share our programs. Um, and we've shown the programs before, but I had never used 360 degree, VR to actually try to tell a story. Um, and so I think that it was just kind of the natural move from using that technology that allows someone to be really immersed.
So I'm also curious about the cast. How did you find your actors?
Um, we, we found actors from I would say, our program participants or program beneficiaries. These are people that we are already working with. So we have already built trust with them. So we decided to work with people that we are already working with because there is already that kind of mutual trust between us.
So um, to kind of go with that, none of the people in the film are professional actors. Um, to put a little bit more context in that, um, they are generally this villagers who live near or in the same village where our medical facility is. Um, that Praise and the other staff at Orient Charities Africa have contact with. Um, Maybe that's just from working with them. Maybe that's from being in a similar program. Um, but yeah, I would love to hear more about the process of the auditions or how that worked as well, because I that was something that I wasn't able to help with. That was entirely praise.
Yeah. So as John has said, none of them were professional actors. So we chose program participants from our different programs that we are implementing, and we called them, and we had we asked them to come with an idea of something that they can practice as in do the actual acting. So from there, that's how we chose those who saw that they have the ability to act. So basically, that was it.
Well, and to go off of that, because I think praise will also have some more insight. Is praise? Isn't there acting is fairly common in Malawi? Theater is different, but what is acting like? Why do people have talent for it? I guess. What do you think?
Can you rephrase your question?
You said that even though they're not professional actors, they have some talent in acting. Why do you think that is?
Um, I would say, okay, for instance, the whole idea behind Yankho film, it's something that they do every day. So it's beyond acting. It's like they are living their daily life. So if you're asked to how do you live your daily life, it's not something that you need to have skills to do. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, and I said earlier, it was really watching a day in the life as opposed to watching actors on the screen. Another thing that, I know for, your mission of the charity is to help bring clean drinking water to the villages. And, the mother says, up until a few months ago, we had to drink from an open well. So can you tell me a little bit about the water crisis and how you are helping these villagers get clean drinking water?
Okay, so in most areas, people do not have access to clean and safe drinking water, and they'll have to walk long distances, maybe for an hour or so, to get drinking water. And in the months of October, September, October, it's summer here, and mostly the wells go dry. And in such months, it's really a big problem, and there are always high cases of diarrhea and waterborne diseases. So what Orange Charities is doing is, we are trying all that we can to make sure that people have access to clean and safe drinking water. Adding to that, we are making sure that uh, women and girls do not have to travel long distances to get water. I will give an example of a certain woman that I was talking to. Uh, she was telling me of a day where the husband had to chase her out of the house because it took her water and come back. So when she was coming back home from fetching water, the husband was furious. But there was nothing she could have done because she says she had already solved the issues for her household. So you can see that lack of safe and clean drinking water also brings in gender-based violence. So as drilling boreholes, we are making sure that the cases of gender-based violence, um, we are trying to eradicate that.
And I know that there's a website and an Instagram. Would you go on and tell us, before I forget to ask you, tell us how we can become involved, or how we can get more information on Orient Charities?
So we have an Instagram. I think it's just Orant Charities, or maybe Orant underscore charities. And our Facebook page should be about the same. Um, the best way to stay in touch with what we're doing is to subscribe to the Orant newsletter, which you can do on our website, um, orantcharitiesafrica.org.
And this would be because I know that Pat Praises says that you get stories, and you tell stories every day, and so this would also be an opportunity for us to read more of those stories.
Right. Every week we have a new blog post that is um, produced by Praise. There'll be different stories of just what's going on in our area. For example, what was our one that we had this past week? Praise. Um, our last blog was published this Friday. Um, it's Tadala's story, malnutrition in Malawi. So it follows a specific um, woman that Praise found and kind of tells her story. And Praise, maybe you could talk more about that. Praise, can you hear us? Oh, I think
Okay. We
we
might have
might have
lost you
lost
for
her.
a minute. Okay. Well, you know what? While we are going, yeah, she looks like she's frozen. While we're waiting for Praise to get unfrozen, John, going back kind of like to the art of the way the filmmaking. You said that, and we talked a little bit earlier. You said this was not your first film, but what drew you? What drew you to filmmaking?
So I have a background in photography, and I've been fortunate enough to travel a lot um, in my life, and through that time, I've met a lot of people, and in Malawi, it's no different. There's a lot of people who have a lot of stories to be told, and I think that was what continues to draw me to filmmaking or photography. Um, I've always been very interested in theater. Um, so I think that this was definitely a first step in the direction of filmmaking, and I'm excited to see um, what the future holds, what other stories are out there to be told.
When did you first go to Malawi?
I actually first went to Malawi with Orant just 2 years after it was founded. It was originally founded in 2006, and I went there when in 2008. I was still a teenager. The charity was very still much a charity. It was also um, very different back then. But I went then, and then the first time I went, then there was a very long break, and then I went once again in beginning of 2020. So then I've gone many times since then.
Oh, it looks like Praise is back. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry, I lost my
Oh
internet
no.
connection.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
understandable. That's understandable. So you were talking about your most recent story.
We were talking, yeah, about the blogs.
Yes. Were you talking about Tadala's story?
The
Yes.
most recent blog.
Okay, so you wanted me to explain a bit about it?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
just about stories in general that you tell on our that we publish on our website.
Yeah. Okay, so as John said, every week we publish stories on our website, and these are stories from all our programs that we are implementing, and you see that most of them they show the success and how people's lives are changing because of the um, how we are serving them. So I think in summary, that's what
Yeah.
I can say.
Okay. So let the donors know what good they're doing. And we have a question for our audience. So the question is, as a parent, the storyline with the teenage daughter seems universal. So was the storyline purposely selected to increase the relatability to people everywhere? Is that why you chose that particular story?
I think I missed some part of your question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to kind of paraphrase, parents everywhere want a better life for their children. And so the story was very relatable to people from all over, from, United States to Canada to Africa. And so the question was, did you purposely choose that story? So, it could be a relatable story for everyone, not just people from Malawi.
Yes, I think I mentioned that despite Orange Charities being our programs, we are implementing them here in Malawi to the local people, but most of our supporters are, I would say, international. We have global supporters, and for this, I think the most part of the population that's there is the global supporters. So we wanted them to relate to have a chance to relate what it is like for the people we serve, what they go through on daily basis. So as you've said, some that story is something that everyone from all over the world could relate to.
Well, and another thing that really struck me at the very beginning when you state, my story is mundane, my story is female, my story is poor, I believe. That was
Poor.
that was very impactful. That was very impactful. Did you how did you come up with that? Because I mean it just kind of drags the audience pulls the audience in from the start. How did you come up with that thought? Or is that the way you
Um,
feel? Okay.
okay, so being someone who was born and raised in Malawi, mostly most of the ideas are the things that I could see growing up, uh, either in my family or from people around me. So I would say that was from something that I've been experiencing and something that anyone else would have experienced here in Malawi.
Okay. Oh, I believe that you're muted. Can you hear?
Oh,
Oh, there you
yeah,
go. Okay, you're back.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was saying that was from my experiences and what I could see every day as I was growing up.
Yeah. And so, what was your inspiration? I mean, were you encouraged as a young woman to further your education, or was that something that you inspired yourself to do? Were you self motivated? Oh, you're
You're muted again, Praise.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay.
was asking you if you can rephrase your
Oh, yeah.
question.
So, what? was the driving factor you continuing your education? Was that self motivation, or did you have a mom or a dad that was pushing you to get that bachelor, to get that advanced the degree to continue your education?
No, it was no one pushing me. Growing up, I grew up in a typical village in Chipoka, Salima in Malawi. And in that area that I grew up in, I experienced a lot of early marriages, um, early pregnancies, and such stuff. And growing up in such environment, I was afraid that I would end up in the same trap. That one morning I woke up and I thought of overcoming my fears. And in overcoming my fears, I thought, what if I would become a change and bring change in this very environment that I grew up in? And I thought it to myself, and I thought communication it's very vital in developing a society. And that's why I thought studying communication. And I had always wanted to use communication to bring change, starting from my community and everywhere else in Malawi and beyond.
Well, and I'm sure you're an inspiration to other young women because when they see representation and people who look like them, as we say, that's going to inspire other people to follow in your footsteps. And I know
Yes.
this is kind of an obvious question, but why do you think that it's important to tell Black stories?
It's important to tell Black stories because, okay, there is always this say to say Black stories matter and stuff. In telling Black stories, uh, it helps other people from elsewhere to understand what it is to be a Black person, what it is to go through what they go through each and every day. And that brings in a better understanding of different cultures and different people.
Well, yeah, it was a wonderful story that was certainly worth being told, and I'm certainly glad you shared it with us. So the other thing, because we're got a few minutes here, before we close, I would like to see, what are your upcoming projects?
So far, we're still working on our weekly normal stories that we always work on. Um, Otherwise, we don't have anything really different. Maybe John will be visiting Malawi next month, and when he visits, that's when we make proper plans for our communications and marketing. But as it stands, we are still working on our normal communications and marketing stuff, our weekly post.
Do you have any other film festivals you're planning to show at?
Right now, we are hoping to be at a virtual reality film festival in the Czech Republic, and we are also applying to one in Ontario, in Canada. Um, and we're still looking for other places to show the film because we worked really hard on it, and I think it's got a long lifetime. And the technology is still very new, which is exciting because um, it gives a good shelf life, I would say,
Yeah,
to the movie, um, because people will still just be interested in the medium,
right.
um, and so that's very exciting.
Well, we're really happy that we were able to have the world premiere at the Denton Black Film Festival. And I hope that this is not the end of your film making, because it was a very beautiful film, and I was really really happy that I got to view it, and really happy that we got to talk with you guys.
We would love to do more viewings in Texas in the future. So maybe that's something that we can organize, especially if after we kind of do this film festival circuit. Um, so we're still here. We'll be around.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us, and I wish you continued success. And I hope to see you again on the film circuit. And I would like to also thank our audience for joining the conversation today. And if you haven't had an opportunity to view Yankho, it is a free screening, and it will be available until midnight tonight, which is February the 5th. And also for the other films we showed this year in our film festival, they are all available until midnight tonight online. And that's going to be on our website, Denton Black Film Festival. It's dbff.com, or if you want to say Denton BFF, bestfriendsforever.com. And I do want to invite you to stick around for our next conversation with the filmmakers of Not My Enemy. So for now, that we're wrapping up the 2023 film festival. Next year is our 10th year, so 2024. We hope to see you there, and we're going to continue to bring you films that educate, entertain, and inspire.
Forged by pioneers.
Hello, I'm Harold Taft.
An obsession with being the most accurate and protecting their community.
Please be careful in the Dallas-Fort Worth area now.
Upheld today by the largest and most experienced team in North Texas.
Sharing resources and expertise, pushing boundaries to develop exclusive modeling software.
Filling in gaps that nobody else can. Certified most accurate forecasting DFW in both English y Español.
NBC5 and Telemundo 39.
Denton County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country, and as the county grows, it becomes more difficult to commute. At Denton County Transportation Authority, we provide clean, modern public transportation. Experience the many services DCTA has to offer, including our 21-mile commuter A train, as well as our Connect bus and UNT campus shuttle services available in Denton, or our GoZone on-demand app-based rideshare service available in Denton, Louisville, and Highland Village. We pride ourselves in providing you with the connectivity and transit options to safely get you around town or the region. At DCTA, we are committed to safe, customer-focused, and efficient mobility solutions for Denton County. DCTA. We get you where you need and want to go.